Alright, everybody, what's happening? It is time for, once again, it's that time of the week for Shokugeki no Souma. Uh, Now, this chapter, of course, was crazy, as usual, as per the usual for the last, couple chapters. But, yeah, this shit's getting ridiculous, man. In a good way. But, I do have my reserves about this chapter, and I'll get there. But let's start off by talking about the that color page was fucking awesome with Aishi. It looks fantastic. Yeah, Tsukasha Aishi, that guy, Tsukasa, not Tsukasha, Tsukasa Aishi, looks awesome, especially colored. Now, there was an interesting, there was a shot of the fourth seat, the third seat, the sixth seat, and the fifth seat, and I was kind of wondering why. What was the point of showing them, which we find out later. But it was kind of interesting how they showed them in the beginning. I don't know, but and that there's like that weird like blue filter is just fucking weird. They weren't in the raw scan, so I don't know why it had that blue filter on it. But anyway, um, we do find out that Azon, the way he rolled was pretty much the way he always rolls, which he had about 20 stalls. He managed them and made just a giant profit off them, even though he didn't directly handle the cooking because he says like he's not a chef. Um, he says he's a businessman. Like that's what he said when he first talked to I think Soma, um, either that or the Malzia girl. But he's just he's a businessman first and foremost. Yeah. So yeah. Uh, of course, then we cut over to Rindo and her, uh, you know, running like because Soma and Tadakoro just pretty much ran off without her because she was too busy. I don't know, flirting with Aishi or some shit like that. I mean, gave some for whatever reason wanted some leftovers and shit. I don't know. Well, not for some reason, obviously, because Aishi's cooking is amazing, but yeah. So that was kind of random, but the of course, the meat of this obviously has to do with Azumi and the stuff that happens with him. But uh, of course, it was interesting how Soma acknowledges the judges, not Sume and her sister. I can't remember her name. Uh, of course, once again mentioning that they were just in the episodes that are airing like right now in Japan, so it's like interesting in that matter. Whether or not it was planned, I don't know. I don't give a shit. Uh, and Erina cannot say a fucking word to Soma for the first time. Alright, she always has something to say. She's always got something witty or something assholish to say to Soma. Not this time. Nope, she's silent. And a silent Erina is a good Erina, I guess. But I'm just, I'm fucking around, but sort of serious at the same time. But it is kind of funny though that she didn't say that shit, and he's like, did something happen here? And then Tadokoro comes in and is like, it says basically the same thing. Did something happen? And but she thinks that Soma hasn't noticed, but he has, just not to the same extent. He can't read the situation quite as well, or perhaps he just doesn't give as much of a shit because he specifically asks if something happened, but I don't think he gets it. It seems like he doesn't get like the level of what's going on. But the fact that he went right up to Azumi, some guy he has no clue about, this creepy looking dude, and just is like, "Would you mind sharing the table?" what? Like, can you imagine if you go to like just some random restaurant, just picture in your head, you're going to that local restaurant that you always go to, I don't know, your favorite one, and some random ass dude just comes up to you and you're like trying to eat. You're like, would you mind sharing a table? You'd be like, fuck that. Well, I guess that depends on your culture. Um, Granted, when I was at ZenkaiCon, there was a really nice dude who offered to share his table with both myself and AZX when we were trying to find a spot because the cafe was like pretty much filled, and he was a local who was just trying. He was almost done with his food, and he's like, "Hey, if you want, you can share the table with me." And so that was a kind gesture, but it was the other way around, where the person who was already sitting at the table was like, "You wouldn't mind sharing, would you?" No, Soma imposes on freaking Azumi to share the table, like inviting yourself over to somebody's house. Yeah, do you mind if I come over to your house? Hi, can I come crash at your place today? Like that's I mean in some cultures it's fine, but in other cultures it's rude as shit. I've never heard of Japanese people doing this shit, but I don't know. If you guys know more about Jap culture and you think that's more acceptable, let me know, but I don't know. It's funny, but at the same time it's just weird. And Azumi just instantly assumes that he's a friend of Erina's. Couldn't be further from the truth. They are mortal enemies. You must understand. No, I'm just messing around for all y'all who are gonna be like, no, he's not. They're not mortal enemies. They're gonna be boyfriend or girlfriend. No, stop, stop it. I don't want to hear it, even if it's gonna be true. I don't fucking want to hear it right now. All right, I'm putting that sentiment off until she's a much more likable character. All right, so fucking relax. Anyway, he loses interest, which is fine. I mean, there again, Soma was like I said, Soma was going to be some kind of support, mostly mental. He essentially is like, all right, fuck this weird ass kid. I'm gonna get out of here, basically. So Soma was in fact support, like I predicted, um, in exactly the manner that I was thinking. Close. Um, I kind of figured that he was going to interrupt to the point where he was going to leave, and I was sort of correct in that, but not in that. Not I didn't think he was going to want to share a table and shit like that. That was different. But yeah, um, yeah. I mean, after that, there's not much else to talk about when it comes to Soma. Like he finds out that it's uh, Erin's dad, and because Hisako assumedly says it. But yeah, she's shivering. She's still shivering. But of course, the fucking food mafia comes up, the gourmet mafia. Where's Toriko at? Um, they pull up and freaking Senzaimon, the man himself, comes to greet his kid, which it is confirmed it is his kid. Um, which is it's very interesting. Like I would say the conversation between Senzaimon and Azumi is very interesting, if nothing else, because they're father and son. Um, because this type of conversation between father and son is very very interesting. And did you see the one panel with Azumi's eyes where there were like swirls? Like what the fuck? What is this man? Like who is this man? What is this man? What is he gonna do? What did he do? What is he gonna do? Etc. Um, Not to mention Rindo coming back, and it was kind of funny, but not really. Um, but yeah, again, the conversation between them is pretty sick. It's crazy. Where he basically Senzamon's like, you may never again call yourself a Nakiri, which is like literally disowning his own kid. So that is hardcore as fuck. Um, and we again more confirmation that the one who polished off Erina's skills basically. Her god tongue was Azumi. And so there was a period of time back in their past where Erina was being trained by Azumi in some way, shape, or form. Now, the fact that he mentioned the god tongue like specifically could mean that it was the fact that he might be such a good cook or chef that he basically opened her eyes to a whole world of culinary in order to like train her tongue, I guess. Pause. I don't know. But yeah. So here's where I sort of have some reserves, and it's the part with obviously the decision to make Azumi the new director by order of the Elite Ten. Um, the people who sign this, I'm sort of jumping around. I know. Um, the people who voted for this to happen, Azon was number one. Rindo is number two. Fuck. I mean, what? Aichi three. The fifth seat and the fourth seat. Uh, wait. Yeah. It was the sixth. The third. No. Fuck. I'm getting this wrong. Hold on. I'm looking at the pictures here. It was the fifth seat, the fourth seat, the third seat, Azon, Rindo, and Aishi. That's what it was. Um, why? Um, that's my question is why? And why so fast? Like my reserves with this part is the following, I guess. One, it's it seems too quick. For example, the man literally was just introduced last chapter. I mean, you could say, oh, well, his face appeared a couple chapters ago, but literally he was only introduced last chapter. All right? Um, and literally the next chapter is all about Azumi overthrowing Senzaemon, aka this chapter. So that's my first reserve is why is this happening so fast? Why is it that we haven't been given more introduction or more story development with Azumi before we get this overthrowing of the proverbial government? For example, if Tsukuda Yuto wants us to feel outraged by this, shouldn't he show us something that he's done that is so awful? You know what I mean? Like, if we knew more about Azumi at this point, we would be like, how could they possibly vote for this man after all that he's done? I mean, at this point, we know it's implied that he's done some shit. I mean, but we don't have anything concrete yet. And so for that reason, I have my reserve. My second thing is why. Why are they voting for him? There's no reason behind it yet. For example, Rindo says a new wave is coming, you know. Riding it is way more exciting. Mega pause. Not really. Um, but pause on that, I guess. Um, but what does she mean by a new wave? What has Azumi been doing behind the scenes to get them to vote? I understand Azon. Azon is a businessman first and foremost. If Azumi could convince Azon that this was better for business, I can understand. But why was she able to convince Rindo and the others that Azumi would be a better director when this man has been banished? Um, and so I'm sort of asking that same question that I was saying before, like, if you knew more about what Azumi's done, you would ask, how can this be? Um, but in a lesser tone, I guess. I would be much more outraged if I knew more about Azumi. Right now, I'm just confused. Why is it moving so fast, and why are we voting for Azumi all of a sudden? You know, I don't know. But it's interesting how Rindo asks Soma, who would you side with? And Soma basically has the exact same reaction that we do. And I think that might be the point that Shunseki's going, or not Shunseki, that Tsukuda Yuto is going for. He says, eh? Which I'm going, eh, at this point. No, even if you ask me that, I really don't understand what's going on. What are they talking about? That's the exact same reaction that we should be having at this point. And she's like, and here I thought you'd take this side too. Why? What are we missing? And here I thought you'd take this side too. What is that supposed to mean? Why would he? That's the thing. Why would he vote for Azumi if he has no idea who this man is? He literally just heard that it's Erena's father. He had no idea who this man was. And somehow the Elite Ten know who he is. And my third problem with this, not necessarily with this chapter, but with the system, is the fact that the Elite Ten can overthrow a fucking director. There's something wrong with that, guys. Totsuki Academy needs to change. And that's exactly the point of why Azumi's there, but not that kind of change. We're not talking about making cannibalism legal, alright? For all you guys who were talking about Azumi being Hannibal Lecter and shit. We're not talking about that kind of shit. We are talking about a change in system where the fucking Elite 10, they're still students, can overthrow possibly the most prestigious role in Totsuki Academy. What? Uh, did the people who made this role, like, were they high when they were doing this? Like, seriously? Like, I understand balance of power and shit. I'm an American, I get that. But, I mean, it's a school. It's not a government. Even though I just called it a government earlier. Fuck, I was saying proverbially. Anyway. So, I know this is a long-winded review, but I have a lot to say about this topic. This chapter brings up so fucking much about shit. And, this is a bombshell. And why? That's my question is why? What and why is this so fast? So, at the end of the day, I'm going to try to wrap this up because this chapter just was crazy. It was batshit, as usual. But um, yeah. So anyway, the point I'm trying to get at is, you know, this whole thing with Azumi becoming the new director, assuming that'll pass. I'm like, it literally says the dynasty is overthrown, meaning it's implied that the Elite Ten's word is now law. So personally, what I would like to see out of Tsukuda is the next chapter to explain what Azumi has done to influence the Elite Ten. Or, yeah, no, that's what I want to see next chapter. Because now that he's gone this far with the sequencing, he has to show what made him influence the Elite Ten to that degree, and furthermore, um, that should be shown before we see uh, just some of the horrible shit he's done, I guess. Just because of the sequencing that he's gone into, it seems weird, but I'm gonna trust Tsukuda at this point because this man is a genius at storytelling sometimes. So I'll leave it at that, guys. I know it's been a long ass review, but I hope you guys stuck with it. So thank you guys for listening. This was a very good chapter, but again, I still have my reserves, so I'm not gonna say it was amazing, it was GOAT or anything like that, but it was still a very good chapter. So thank you guys for listening, and I'll see you guys next week.